Hello and welcome once again to the Cartoonist Studio. Now today, I know I say this an awful lot and you must get a bit tired of hearing it, but we really are doing something a little bit different. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be showing you lettering, sound effect lettering, not the lettering as in the word balloons, but the sound effect lettering that you get, like the whoomp and the crash and the bang and the wallop and everything, and how they can help the whole page, how they can interact with the characters, should we say. So without going into too much detail, because I'll be doing that in the video, let's go ahead and see how I can mess up some perfectly good sound effects, shall we? Okay, before we actually get started, there are 2 points to this video. The first thing is I'm going to be creating a very simple little character. I'm going to draw him in a position and then put the lettering around him to show you how the lettering interacts with that character. The second point is, for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to be inking it in with normal pens, normal sort of fiber tip pens, if you like. When I draw on a comics page, I will probably use, in fact, I usually use my brush. If I'm doing a single panel, often I'll use the pens. Use whatever you're comfortable with. Like I said, I'm not going to be going through all the inking process of the character, because the character isn't massively important in this video. The character is only important in the respect that it's to show you how the lettering interacts with it. Okay, so this is the character. He's nothing special. He's just head, body, arms, and legs. He's not even sort of special clothes. It's just a little triangular body. He's just there to show how the lettering interacts with him, as I've just said. So there we go. There's your character. Right, now from there, what we now want to do is to put him into his first position. So the first sound effect, shall we say, is we're going to have the word kazits. Now, the best exponents of sound effects that I have ever come across had to be Don Martin. He just would, his sound effects, you knew what the sound was. He didn't just go wham or crash or bang. Like if he'd have a saw, a cutting saw, and he had one where he bent it back and it smacked into someone's face, and he had the sound effect foing zap, and it did. You could almost foing zap, foing zap. You could almost hear it. It almost sang to you. So clever with his lettering. Well, we're not going to get that clever. For the sake of this video, we're just going to show you how it works. So Kazits is the one, and we'll have the character, which I'll quickly draw now. The character is going to be holding together two live wires for reasons best known to himself. So he's just there and is going to have the sound effect behind him. But what I'm going to be doing is the sound effect will become the panel. Let me show you. Right, so there you go, your character. Okay, so now we'll go into the lettering. And what I would do is, this will have obviously a panel border around it. So I would take the letters and just very lightly place them where I want them to be. So there's the K, and then the zit. Now I always do the I. Every letter I do is a capital letter. But when I do an I, for some reason, I do it in a lowercase. And then the T, and then the Z. Okay, so that's your panel size. Normally it would be done in advance. I'd obviously have it bordered off properly with a ruler. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to show you roughly how I do it. So there's your border. So that's the first part of the letter K. Bring it in like this, then up to connect to the top. Bring it down, all the way down here. And that could connect with the line of the next letter there, and then carry on all the way through. You don't have to worry about this connecting with the zits, because you'd have it's like a hyphen word, isn't it? So if you wanted to, you could even do that. You don't have to. And then the A there, and then the same thing with the Z. I'm doing this a bit harder with a pencil, so as it's legible for you to see on the video, but normally it's an idea just to sketch it. The T, and the Z, you could just drop it down a little bit below there, so as it differentiates between the T and itself, the Z, and then use a little bit of that panel, and then the final bit there. So what you've got your kazits. There's your letter. Now it's going to be like electrified, so I guess we're going to have to electrify it by doing this sort of stuff. I'm not going to sit here and talk all the way through it. I'll just speed this a little bit up, I should imagine, to get it done. But you know what I mean. I'm just literally putting jaggedy lines around the lettering to signify shock. Okay? But before I do that, I want to point out that this panel would have been pencil line right before I put the black outline. That always goes at one of the last stages. Now, when I finished it, you'll see the effect I'm after. But up until that point, I'm just going to do the jaggedy line. So speed this up, and I'll speak to you in a minute. Oh, but before I go, because I can't stop talking, you'll notice that I've got the cabling here that's going into him. I'm just going to finish it off at the panel. I'm also going to make sure the lettering doesn't go over it. So the character and the wires are in the foreground. The letters are definitely in the background. So there you go. That goes to the edge. Right, now I'll show it. Okay, there you have it. I haven't bothered to put in a hyphen, doesn't really matter. Now that I've got the panel completed, I can now go over and do stuff like this and connect these lines up. That doesn't need it so much because it's already there. Now, like I said, that would have a pencil panel. I'd rub all the pencil lines out, and then the letters, oh, I missed a bit here. The letters would then become the panel itself. So it's interacted with the action, but it's also interacted with the overall look of the page. So it's just another way of just making a different panel look, if you like. Another way I do it when I'm going through things like shock and what have you, I just do a few dots coming up here. I don't know what I've been doing it for years. I don't know why I do it or what even it signifies, but for some reason it just adds to the effect of the picture. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that I made a mistake here. Two mistakes, actually. I should have put his shadow on after I'd done the panel. Also, for some reason, I went up here rather than there. I think I read a different line. This is no problem. In the computer, in Photoshop, that can be erased out. And if you don't use Photoshop and just do it freehand and send out the original artwork, well, you can just do it with some whiteout or white opaque or whatever you call it. So if I hadn't done that, I would then just come along here outside of the panel and then draw his shadow underneath that. So that is the first example of how you can use lettering in a comics page to interact with the character and also the page in general. Right, on to the next. Okay, the second sound effect is going to be done with, call it kinetic energy or some form of energy. So I'll give you an example. piece of paper. That's not it, by the way. On the end of my hand, like so. You can all see that? Now it's not moving, it's just on the tips of my fingers. Okay, so I'm going to go, watch. See? Quick slap, and I don't flick it. I don't flick it with my fingers like so. My fingers stay as they are, but the act of me hitting my hand forms energy, which then goes out in concentric circles, I guess. And when it hits the end of the fingers, it makes the whole hand jump slightly and then lifts the paper off the ground. So effectively, there we go. That's what happens. So if a character has fallen down, and let's just assume that our little character, we'll draw him now, has come crashing down from a great height and has landed on the ground. Now we can use the word woomph, which is what we're going to do. Use the word woomph and in the background, and that's perfectly good. But how would it be if those letters were already on the ground and he landed there? What would they do? They jump up at all different angles. So that's how I'm going to portray the sound effect of woomph this time. Once again, if you read the page just as a normal page, you see these letters jumping around. You don't really think about it, but it's subliminally gone into your mind, and you've noticed that it's just given that page a little more action. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, right, as I said, the letters in this one are going to interact. I know I've drawn some lines coming up here, some action lines. We'll worry about that later. So if you imagine that the letters within the cartoon world are things that actually exist. I mean, when we make a sound like that, we don't see a letter come up, it just, we hear it. But in the cartoon world, they're there, they're in the panel. So taking it away from reality, because that's basically what we're dealing with here, a lack of reality, is those letters would exist. So if it hits the ground, like I showed you with the piece of paper, the screwed up piece of paper, they're going to jump a little bit. So like in a normal situation, you just put the word whoomp or woomph, and it's fine. But I just take it one stage further, and let's go, right, okay, woomph. And then one slightly down here. One like that. And then one over here. And maybe have the circle at the bottom of the exclamation mark just going up into it. So you've got that woomph. Now, because we're also dealing with a crashing sound, then maybe we'll run it and just have a few cracks. Yes, in the lettering. This is where having different thickness and thinness of lines help a little bit, because if you get a very, very thin pen, you can then start to make all these little crack marks. And if you want to add to it, exaggerate it a little bit more. So this letter has come up and it is in front of the W. The U, sorry. The W has gone in front of the U. And there it's connecting with the M. But because they're separate letters, I can't really have them connected. So they're just like touching. That's all they're doing, just touching. You notice there that I didn't follow the exact lines. Well, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's if you follow the lines slavishly, then it loses some of its life. Just down to the last few letters. There's no right or wrong place to put these little cracks. You can put them wherever you want, many as you want. I just tend to sort of think, right, I need one now, and it goes, or now. This one here's now very few. The circle, not so many. And there we have it. I just draw a few more lines coming here. I did them last, why, no particular reason. I just did. And a few of these lines show that he's come down from a distance. And then some more little dots that I put in. Some lines there for creases. and maybe I can put a few more little dust clouds. And there you have your second one. So you could move that over, you can put it wherever you want, but maybe looking at it again, maybe it would have been better to have been slightly over there. Right, that's example number 2. Now this is the final one for this particular video. I may do more in the future. If you want to see more of these types of things, then yes, you can. This is one where we're not actually going to use the character in this one because he's going to be out of the picture. What I'm doing is speed, showing speed and the lettering that accompanies it. Usually the word we have is whoosh, and we're going to stick with that word today. So what I've got, and I'll draw the quick outline of the scenery now very quickly. So we're going to have, the character's going to be, will have come into the panel and out of the panel before we even get a chance to see him or her, whoever the character is. And you've got that dust cloud of smoke that comes behind. And it just shows it disappearing off over the edge. So in this panel, you've actually got 3 pieces of action. You've got the character coming into the panel and out of the panel and during the panel, and you don't see the character at all. You've got the impression that the character has been there. So it's going in a kind of an arc down. What we have to do is make sure that the lettering follows that arc. And there's 2 parts to that lettering, and I'll go into it now. Okay, now this one here, we're going to have, like I said, the character's come in and has gone out of the picture, zoomed over there, whether on a skateboard, with a car, on a cart, or whatever it is. It basically is, vroom, it's out. So we've got the word whoosh. You notice that I've come from thicker clouds going down to thin, thicker going down to thin. The lettering needs to do the same. So the lettering is going to go up here. So we start, so this is the bottom line of it. I'm going to do guidelines for it. Now also, there's movement, so it's dragging the letters. So we'll start off with the large W. So you see I've arced it slightly. Same there, but I've arced it out the other way. It's convex and concave, I can never remember which one's which. And I'll do the same with the H. I'll block this off so it's easier. And then the O's, they don't really matter, but they're getting smaller as they go along. And then I'll just do the S, which is now, as you would do a normal S, there's no drag in it at all. And I'll get to the H, same thing. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So you've got that whoosh thing. Fine in itself, absolutely fine, gives it a little bit of action, looks very nice. Do you know what? It's been dragged. So let's give some speed marks on it. If it's been dragged this way, then it's going to be leaving a kind of a tail or a trail. So we do this kind of thing just on the outer side, the left-hand side, shall we say, of all the letters. So bit there, not so much here, a little bit there. Thinking about the way that some parts of it would protect it. So the bottom part of here might protect that little bit there. So it wouldn't start there, it would start somewhere around here. And it tails off a little bit here because that would be protecting that. Not so much here. And you go all the way down the letters doing so. I'm just doing it roughly at the moment. But if I go into it slowly and methodically, you start off on this line and you come out and you reconnect with it. You come out and you reconnect with it. Some longer, some shorter, some in between. So you don't get a standard uniformity. You just it's a little bit all over the place. And I look at this again, I think, well, maybe these could do it coming out a little bit more. Just a few of them could come out a little bit more. And with the O's, this is where you've got to strengthen your line a little bit. And then you start about here, and there's not much on there. You could do this little bit here, but it's not important. You don't have to. You go all the way down the letters, like so. Now, I'm not going to do it on all that because I'll do it with the pen, which is I'd normally do it with the pen. So you've got that there. You then, before you start to ink, do a few lines during the bushes, because this would probably be coloured in black. And when you colour it in black, you've got to make sure that you come where these lines are, you go over and above it, but you leave them in. So it's almost like dragging the colour out of the letter. It's another effect, another simple effect. Right, I'm going to letter this up now, speed it up slightly. Oh, the trees, I always put the leaves on down, so I forgot to do it. There you go. And one more. Right, I will get on with it now and slightly speed it up because it's been quite boring for you. Okay, there you have it. So then it's just a case of putting your speed lines in there. And some of them can go from about here. See, now that is action. Just simply by having the letters almost like you imagine you are dragging it with a pole. Now at the moment it doesn't look, it looks a bit sort of like bland and jaggedy, but when you put that into solid black, and I would only do it with a solid black, if you're going to colour it, give it like a red or a blue or whatever colour you want, I wouldn't do the drag lines because it would look ridiculous. It looks like some kind of a drop shadow when you actually reduce it. So only if you're going to do that in black would I do that. But also notice that when I did the arcing of the W there and that way there, also remember when it comes to the downward strokes here, they're like that, and that one is like that, and the same here and the same there. And there, wherever they are, just make sure, just imagine it is being pulled. Because if you pull something, it starts off solid, like so, and you pull it and it starts to do that, and then it follows you along. You can't see that. You can't see that movement, but it's there. Okay. There you go. Another one. I'll even sign this one. I feel like signing it. Lovely. Okay, well, that's it. That's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, as you can imagine, those are just a few samples of how I can use letters to interact with the comics characters, to bring a bit more life to an already lively page. But if you'd like to see more examples of how I can use letters to enhance the character or the panel or the page, then let me know in the comments below and I'll produce another one or another few. Who knows? But also this channel in general, if what I do here on this channel is the kind of thing that you enjoy, then like, subscribe, share it with your friends on your social medias. Let everyone know about us. It helps with the algorithms. Another good way of supporting me, of course, is all my books, for which the universal links are in the description below. Purchasing any of those books helps support me and allows me to continue to produce more videos like this. Okay, that's it. That's all that's left to say. Thanks very much. Also, that was one more point on the subscribers. I'm probably aware there's an awful lot of you out there that just find me, YouTube, throw this video towards you, and you have a look at it, and you go on to the next one. But you might enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, subscribe. Just add to it, because lots of people watch but don't subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, and it takes but a few seconds, but it makes me happy and grows the channel. Right, I'm off now. I'm off to do a whole bunch of other stuff. And the next video will be here in a fortnight. So have a great 2 weeks, and I'll see you on the next video. And until then, bye-bye for now.